Frank, thank you for the introduction. It's great to be here. It's like a reunion for me. There are at least 10 people in the room that used to work here at Golden Gate and have moved on in their career. And there are many people that I've gotten to know over the years in my work with public lands. So welcome to Fort Baker and the Golden Gate National Parks, and I hope to have time to chat with all of you during your time here. I'm going to follow the partners indoors, partners outdoors metaphor that was set up. Frank talked to you in the indoors, and through the use of slides, I'm going to take you into the outdoors of the Golden Gate National Parks. My goal is first, for those of you who don't know this park, to give you a little bit of a tour of it, under sunlight instead of fog. Then to talk a little bit about the work that the Conservancy does with the Park Service related to outdoor activity and engagement and stewardship. And finally, to tell you the story of Fort Baker, how this military post became a national park site. So we are fortunate in the Bay Area in that the outdoors wrap around a major city in a splendidly beautiful way. And as Frank said, every single day, people who live in these buildings are out in the beauty of their national parks, state parks, and public lands in the Bay Area. This park was a unique idea in its time. It has its unique characteristics. It blends together so many different things, wildness and nature and culture and people and places in a really magical blend. The park began, as someone recounted, under Brian's enthusiastic work in Washington, D.C., but also the local citizenry who had fallen in love with the outdoors around them and who were foresightful enough to imagine that without federal protection, these lands would one day not be outdoors, they would be developed over. So a citizen movement under the banner of Parks to the People, Parks Where the People Are, began to work with the National Park Service, with the Department of Interior, and with Congress to create this national park in 1972. It's grown wonderfully over time in size, in popularity, in recognition, in citizen engagement, and now is a bigger vision than people even dreamed it would be when it was created in 1972. Of course, the outdoors are important for many reasons, but in an urban area, they're very fundamental to just having a healthy environment, a place for your kids to play, a place to go with people that you enjoy and love, a place to be healthy. So this park really is an outdoor classroom, but also it's better than the gym if you can get out here and exercise. And it's also contained within an amazing network of conservation achievements. Surrounding the park is the United Nations Biosphere Reserve, 2 million acres. If you look out the Golden Gate, you're looking at 4.2 million acres of marine sanctuary, federal marine sanctuary. The Bay Area's greenbelt has grown to over 1 million acres. And as Frank said, we're in a community of 6 to 7 million people. Derrick brought up Brian. Of course, he is always on my mind as someone that worked with him for over 2 decades. And his vision and inspiration is with us every day. In Brian's memory, we've created a Brian O'Neill Youth Leaders Fund, which is fostering young leaders in this park in memory of Brian's deep dedication to young people and his very charismatic effect on their enthusiasm for the outdoors. Our mission at the Conservancy is to support the National Park Service efforts here under the banner of Parks for All Forever, recognizing the value of these places, the basic democracy that should be part of their overall use, and the stewardship into the future that these landmark places deserve. Of course, in a park this big, there are many special things that need to be taken care of, national landmarks, endangered species, and developing a constituency that understands the value of these assets and believes in their long-term care. We work hand in hand with Park Service rangers and cultural and natural resource managers to bring people in to help with the job, to engage in habitat restoration, to work, to learn about the environmental assets of the park, to work with the many park partners here at Golden Gate, and more recently here at Fort Baker with the Institute for the Golden Gate. We have a variety of park stewardship programs involving young people, volunteers, interns, and families in the care and restoration of the parks, including, as one example, managing 6 native plant nurseries within the Golden Gate National Parks that produce over 150 native plants a year for 50 restoration sites throughout the park. And the lifeblood of these nurseries are school groups, volunteers, and college interns who really manage the collection of the seed, the growing of the plants, and the restoration plans that are used to put those plants in the ground. Frank mentioned Trails Forever with a simple vision to create a world-class trail system here at the Golden Gate. This was an idea that Brian was very passionate about, an idea that he had seen at Acadia National Park. He insisted that the Conservancy set up something similar here. We began 5 years ago with the goal of building and improving trails, building a community of people who cared about the trails and the conservation of the lands near them, and building long-term stewardship. As Frank said, this idea took off beyond where we imagined it would. And over a 5-year period, with a very interesting federal and private and volunteer partnership, we brought in about $50 million of support, about $38 million of it through philanthropic giving. So you can see for all of us in the outdoors how precious these places must be to people, that they're willing to contribute that type of time and that type of money to enhance them and make them available for everyone. With those funds, we've been able to work on improving the trail corridor up and down the park. My favorite statistic is 550 new trail wayfinding signs. People must have really gotten lost before we implemented this. But also ideas like community trailheads, where we start the walk to the park in the local YMCA, encouraging people not only to get healthy in the gym, but to walk to the park, those few blocks of those few miles, and come experience the public lands on their doorstep. Along with that, we're preserving the landscape and the side of the trails. The trails are not just important for public access, but they are important for conservation, keeping people where they should go and away from where they shouldn't. And also a vehicle for public engagement. A few volunteer programs, Trail Keepers, which are the trail stewards, Urban Trailblazers, which is a high school program or a middle school program, Teens on Trails and Kids on Trails. Those are all actively underway. And here are some of our volunteers and young people out in the park. I love the t-shirt on that one guy. You can't see it. It says, I'm not trying to be difficult. It comes naturally. There's a slogan for someone. Anyway, these are the volunteers, and you can see we work not only with the Park Service here, but also with the Presidio Trust, a federal agency managed much of the Presidio. There's someone in this room whose picture is in this slide. Naomi, do you see yourself up here? I think that's Naomi right there. This is, as Frank mentioned, the tally of volunteers that help with the job of caring for these national park lands. But it's not just about making people love the outdoors and care about the future. It's about exposing them to public lands beyond Golden Gate, to national parks far from the urban center, and really making everyone feel that they're part of the American landscape. And our flagship center for creating relevancy of these national parks to the community is the Crissy Field Center, a youth-driven center with a variety of programs to bring young people from the city out into our national park. The Inspiring Young Emerging Leaders program is one of my personal favorites, really challenging young people not only to get involved in the environment, but to imagine themselves as future environmental leaders. And our Community Heroes program celebrates people who proudly step up for the value of their environment in their own community, not just within the national park, but in their own neighborhood and its overall betterment.